Uneasy calm reigned in the Niger Delta region yesterday, 24 hours after Tinubu allocated portfolios to ministers designates in his cabinet. Predictably, the allocation of offices to members of the Federal Executive Council, with no one assigned to head the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, fueled speculations that Tinubu has scrapped the ministry created to handle development initiatives in the oil-rich belts. Although there was no official statement to suggest that the ministry had been rested, stakeholders in the region said the silence of the presidency on the fate of the ministry in the assignment of cabinet members lent credence to the speculations that the ministry had been delisted from the cabinet. Also, findings by Leadership Friday in the presidency revealed that Tinubu opted to do away with the ministry as it was considered not to be serving any useful and strategic purposes in view of the existence of the Niger Delta Development Commission (Nddc). Leadership Friday learned that the presidency bought the idea that Nddc was already in existence to perform the roles envisaged by the advocates and promoters of the ministry. Reliable sources within the presidency said that Tinubu and his crop of advisors were not convinced about the arguments in favor of the sustenance of a specific ministry to handle development challenges in the region. One of the sources said Tinubu and members of his inner circles were of the view that the initial decision to create the ministry was thoughtless, as the Nddc and other statutory federal ministries, agencies and departments responsible for development needs of other regions could also cater for the interests of the Niger Delta. Leadership Friday gathered that it was argued that the sustenance of the ministry could also fuel demand by other geopolitical zones, such as the troubled northeast, for independence and specific ministries to handle their development interests. More importantly, the leadership gathered that Tinubu was asked that the ministry had not justified the objectives of its creation in the past 15 years. Multiple sources in the presidency told this newspaper that the revelation that no project had neither been commissioned or completed by the ministry since its establishment in 2008, except a cassava processing plant in Ondo State, practically convinced Tinubu that the ministry had not added value to the well-being of the inhabitants of the troubled oil-rich belts. Findings revealed that Tinubu and members of the inner caucus consider the ministry as a cesspit of corruption. Reports made available to the president about the ministry armly showed that its successive ministers fed fat with the funds of Nddc. Apart from its lackluster performance, the presidency considered the ministry as a duplication and usurpation of the roles of Nddc in the scheme of things in the region. Consequently, the argument that the two major oversight duties of the ministry, supervision and construction of the long-abandoned East-West Road and supervision of Nddc, could be transferred to relevant federal ministries, secured the blessing of the president. Subsequently, it was resolved that the East-West Road be transferred to the Ministry or Federal Ministry of Works for a re-evaluation and speedy completion, while Nddc is to be strengthened and adequately funded to be able to meet development exigencies of the region under the supervision of the presidency. Similarly, it was resolved that other development initiatives of the Niger region could be handled by other statutory agencies, as the case of the other 5 geopolitical zones of the country. The Ministry of Niger Delta was created by the late President Umar Yar'Adua September 10, 2008 to focus on infrastructural development or protection and empowerment of youth in the oil-rich Niger Delta region. Some stakeholders in the region who spoke with the leadership opted to await official pronouncement of the fate of the ministry before the formal reaction to the developments. a popular Niger Delta activist, Comrade Joseph Ambakedorimo, challenged the president to come out with full disclosure over the fate of the ministry. Ambakedorimo, who is the national coordinator South Reawakening Group, said the people of the region deserve an explanation from the president of the issue. We demand explanation and full disclosure from Tinubu on the controversies surrounding the purported scrapping of the Ministry of Niger Affairs. Mr. President cannot just wake up to scrap the ministry in a clandestine operation. We have to know why he took the decision, his alternative plans for the development, say, of our region. Yes, the activists said in a telephone interview with leadership. Meanwhile, it was further learned that the presidential directive on the transfer of Nddc to the presidency has generated a frosty relationship between the secretary to the governments of the Federation, SGF, Senator George Akume, and Chief of Staff to the President, Gbajabiamila. Akume and Gbajabiamila are said to be at each other's throats over whose office would control and supervise the development agency in the presidency. Nddc was under the supervision of the SDF before it was moved to the ministry of former President Muhammadu Buhari in 2019. A source who hinted at the acrimony between Akume and Gbajabiamila over the management of Nddc within the presidency said even before Nddc lands in the presidency, the SGF, Akume, and COS of the President Gbajabiamila are ready to at war over those office would manage the commission within the presidency. The war between the two top officials of the presidency is intense and severe. Two of them are mustering their contracts to prevail on and get the nod of Mr. President to be in charge of the agency, which is regarded as a cash cow and a veritable platform for the enrichment. You see there? You see there? Okay. No one knows the truth again. Everyone is saying what they don't understand. No control, regulation, government or touts led by a chief tout. Yes, they will fight for all this. At the end of the day, what is the gain of the people? Nothing. Those who were even in charge, what was the gain of the people? Nothing.